What's up, y'all? A little faith, and welcome to episode number 21 of the Fagnostic Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hayes, and if I'm still giving you episodes, it means that I'm still trying to figure out what the hell it's all about. Y'all, my show is of legal drinking age now. Let's get wasted! Today, I have a new friend on the show to talk about the lesbian community of West Hollywood, California. I met Barb Mayo at High Tops in West Hollywood through longtime college friends Patrick and Justin. They told me she was a nightlife promoter for a lesbian event called Cherry Bomb, and I've really been thinking, how can I honor the lesbian community in a gayborhood that really only caters to gay men? Then I met Barb. Lesbians have come to the rescue of gay men since the AIDS crisis of the 80s by caring for dying men, despite not knowing how the disease was transmitted, and stepped up to bat with blood drives to compensate for the discriminatory and outdated 1983 decision to no longer allow men who have sex with men, otherwise known as MSM, to donate blood. Barb is a woman who cares deeply for her community and works diligently to make sure everyone feels safe and seen. She helped start the female division of the nationally chartered Varsity Gay League, and she offers some really valuable commentary on the divine that I'm excited to share with you. She's passionate about the idea of lesbian spaces since there are only a handful of lesbian bars left in this country. In this episode, you're going to hear what she's up to and how she's working to bring back a true lesbian bar to the gayest neighborhood in the entire world. Welcome to the show, Barb. All right, welcome, Barb. I'm so glad you're here with me. You were not someone, many of the episodes that I have had on this podcast have been from my own circle of network, but you were someone I met through mutual friends randomly at a night out at High Tops in West Hollywood. And my friends Justin and Patrick, who I actually went to Auburn with, and they pointed you out, and I was like, oh, I really want to talk to her. And so I just drunkenly walked up to you in a bar. I was like, hey, come be on my podcast. And you graciously agreed. So I'm really glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here. Yes. You walked up to me, my goofy cowboy outfit, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you looked great. Fantastically beautiful. So the first question I always ask is, are you a believer?
I am, in my own way, I'd have to say. I'm not part of any organized religious group, or I don't go to church every weekend. I grew up, with religion. My mom is very Catholic still. But personally, I have, it's been a rough road, I guess I should say, when it comes to religion personally, since I was a kid till now.
But that's why this podcast exists, because a lot of people share that same association with faith and religion. So we'll talk about how it's affected you and your childhood and where you are today as well. And then the second question is just, can you identify your pronouns for us?
Yeah, she, her.
Awesome. So let's get going, Barb.
All right.
So we know your name, where you're from, how'd you get here to LA, and anything else that would be worth noting what makes you you.
Yeah. So I was born in Miami Beach. At 6 years old, my family moved to Las Vegas. My dad was in the service industry. He owned a restaurant in Miami, sold it. We moved. And I was there till I was 17 years old. And from there, I moved to Coalinga to go to college. It was a junior college, West Hills, and then ended up in Santa Barbara at UCSB. I went to West Hills to play sports. I've always been an athlete. And then ended up in LA for a girl. I feel like my whole life has always been about a girl. I look back at all my big decisions, they've always been centered around a girl and love.
That's really sweet. Have you learned lessons from that?
Yes. Probably not the smartest thing to do. However, I have zero regrets because, I'm a big believer of connecting the dots in your life. And I'm where I'm at. I'm as successful as I am because of that journey. I think I obviously would be somebody completely different. I would have ended up at Stanford or Berkeley, and I ended up at UCSB. Like, go figure. Yeah. Like, I picked love over an amazing education, right? So,
but isn't that? I think that what lasts. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, education can get you a great job and whatever, right. But like, love is. I mean, I'm not going to ask how old you are, but as I get older, nothing in the world is mattering to me right now except
Yeah.
for relationships, and
Exactly.
all those relationships are based in some form of love, whether it be romantic. Not there ain't no romantic love in my life, let's be honest, but
Yeah.
the other types of love, phileo, brotherly, sisterly love, family love, spiritual love, whatever. So I love that you followed your heart. I think that's so important.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
Did,
think that's just who I am. The core of me is about connection and love and,
yeah.
community, basically.
Well, and there's something really spiritual about following your heart too, because
Yeah.
the heart is the center of most faith systems, or at least the three major ones. What of your religious upbringing kind of informs your view on relationships and connection today?
Um,
Because you said you grew up Catholic, or your mom was Catholic.
my mom was Catholic, and I don't know if you want to get into, what the journey has been for
I
me.
do. I really do. So
Yeah. So
spill it.
you want me to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. So, I had a pretty rough childhood, and to be completely transparent, it was an abusive childhood, a challenging childhood. And my mom, I grew up believing that, my mom always saying, you're going to be okay. You're with God. God is going to take care of you. God's going to protect you. And I grew up feeling like, where was God? Right? Where was God when all these really terrible things were happening to me as a kid growing up? Why didn't he show up for me? So, and, so I have to say, I have kind of a resentful, angry love for God growing up. And it wasn't until later in my adult life that I just started feeling like I needed some sort of faith, right? Because we're not the end all be all. I want to believe that there's something higher than us.
Yeah.
And I have to believe that all the terrible things that have happened to me, even that, I kind of chalk it up to that I was led there and through that on this path and this journey. And it was some sort of intervention, because I look back at all the terrible things, all the things are literally horrific in my whole life. And at that time, they were so bad and they didn't make any sense, but they make sense later.
Sure.
And it's even more important when, when we're all faced with big decisions where, we're stubborn and we really want to go through this door. We keep trying, and something happens. And I like to think it's divine intervention of some sort, where that door will never open. It doesn't matter if you call the fire department, it doesn't matter, right? So you have to go in the direction that this higher power, energy, whatever you want to call it, your God, Allah, whatever that is, you have to follow that instinct. And every time I surrender to that, I always end up where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So even that in my childhood, I have learned to forgive, I guess, God for not being there for me, because I thought, well, I am the woman I am today, and strong and resilient because I have been through hell and back.
I love you just describing that you felt the need to forgive God, because the whole essence of the divine and the creator and creation aspect is that we in the Western culture, we're born into a world where we are taught from the get-go about the fall of mankind, that we are born innately evil and in need of salvation, and that the only one that can offer that is the Christian God. Yeah. And I love that you, because of what you went through in being told that God would protect you from this abuse as a kid, that you then saw the need to think, you know what, like, this isn't really on you, so I forgive you. And that actually reclaims a lot of power, I imagine.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I have conversations every day of my life about faith and spirituality, and I've never had, and that's such a beautifully simple way to put it, that I forgive God, that resentment, because I still have resentment towards the divine, because if there is a divine, what the fuck are you doing? Like, literally, what the fuck are you doing? Look at this world. Look at the division. Look at my own behavior. You know what I mean? Like, so I love that. What a gracious act for you to forgive God. I imagine, as little as I know about you, it actually probably informs a lot of how you treat the world, with a lot of kindness and grace.
I do. Yeah. I've been wronged, obviously, like we all have, and I approach things with, love and forgiveness and empathy as much as I can, and yeah, those moments are really hard and terrible. And I'm angry, of course, but I don't stay angry very long. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I've had to be that way.
Yeah.
We just carry, it's like carrying, what is that saying? Giving somebody, poison and expecting them to die. You know what I mean? That saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are
So
you still close to your parents, or did you kind
I'm
of?
close with my mom, my dad, my stepfather. I'm not. It was my stepfather that um, I had this abusive relationship with, and I stayed in his life for my mother, and I got my mother out of that terrible situation because she was also an abused wife,
Right.
and
Yep.
I grew up in a household where I had to stand in front of my mom with my dad with a gun, so that's the environment I grew up in.
Barb.
So to me, so you can understand why, okay, God, where were you? Okay, why do I have to do this at 6 years old? Why do I have to be this strong kid and show up and protect my mom, you know?
Were you already experiencing same-sex attraction at that point?
My same-sex attraction is, I think, came around, 6 or 7 or so. It was very young. Obviously I didn't understand what it was. Didn't think much of it, but definitely attracted to all my friends, my
Yeah.
friends growing up. And so it all made sense as I was growing up. And I came out pretty young at 17 to my mom.
Oh, wow.
Very Catholic, really thought that she would just not accept me. And that ended up not being the case. She was so kind. And so, I started crying, and she said, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Well, because I'm gay and you're religious and you're going to kick me out." And she's like, "No, I love you even more because now I feel like I really know you." And I told her you, because I was tired of lying and living this double life, because I would come home from college and be out all night, and she'd ask me, "What'd you do?" And I'd just lie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wanted to be honest. And I've been out.
I made my parents drag me out of the closet.
Yeah.
I didn't have the guts to tell them, and I regret that. I should say regret. Things happen as they do, but I do look back, and I'm from Alabama originally, and so my was very Southern, and my sweet father. I don't know if I've told this story on air yet, but here we go. They said I was in between college semesters, and we'd go out with our friends, and the friends that knew, we'd go to the gay clubs in the big town nearby. We'd come home, and I remember before I was going out one night, my dad, and I was wearing painted on denim and very tight little polo shirt, gel for Jesus and days in my hair. And I remember he said, "So we're concerned about your sexuality." And I was like, "Oh no." I was like, "Same, Dad, same." But here we are having a podcast about it. Do you remember your first girl crush you talked about when you were young and being attracted to your friends?
Yeah, I remember, we had this thing when we were kids. It was Friday flip up day where, the kids would run around and the boys would run around and flip the girls' dresses, right? And I remember thinking,
I have a similar celebration on Fridays, also called Friday flip up day, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember thinking I kind of like that, but I don't really why.
That is so cute. I love that you still remember the Friday flip up day.
Yeah.
Is that we'll get it
now.
we'll get into your nightlife advocacy in a bit, but that'd be a great little name for the lesbian meetup group, I mean, with consent, of course, but Friday flip up with consent.
Right. You can wear a wristband if you're okay with
yes,
or whatever that is,
Oh my God. Well, how did you get into because you've recently hosted a lesbian night in West Hollywood, right?
Yeah. So I'm a part of a team, Cherry Bomb, and the way I ended up,
It's called Cherry Bomb.
Yeah, Cherry Bomb.
Okay.
And Allison Freed, she's the main person. This was her vision, and we both play kickball. And it was at this day in the park after our game that she said, "We're gonna rule the world, and I want to start a lesbian bar." And I looked at her and I said, "I want to be a part of it." She looked at me like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got the money. Let's do it." And so we've been together since, trying to do this. And it's been challenging because we actually want like a brick and mortar bar, right? We don't want just another night like we normally have, the throwaway nights, right? Where in the boys' bars, it's like, oh, give us a Wednesday night, then nobody's there anyways.
And let's talk about that for a second too, because I think that's what when I found out who you are, that's why I wanted to have you on to talk about these kinds of things, because there's a great disservice happening to many letters of the rainbow within the LGBTQ community, mostly done by gay men, and not all, because there's a lot of gay men who are advocates of all and do great work to try to get others recognition. But in West Hollywood, there is not a lesbian bar. And there's never been a lesbian bar to my knowledge. I don't want to put that as scripture. Oh, there was.
Back in the day, yeah.
When did they close?
So in college, my friends and I would drive from Santa Barbara and go to the Palms. The Palms was the big lesbian bar right next to where Sprouts is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it used to be, it was this little hole in the wall, nightclub bar. And we would all go there and hang out. And that's the last, and there was a Normandy room where the gym bar used to be.
Okay.
That was also a lesbian bar. But the Palms, I would say, was the big one that I think people would know that are a little bit older. And we also had Girl Bar, but that was also like just one night a week.
Sure.
The Palms was actually a lesbian bar. Okay.
And then I feel like when I first moved to LA, there was also a lesbian night at the Abbey.
At Here Bar. So
that's right. Here Bar.
Where Chapel used to be, there was a place called Here.
And God rest Here. That was the only, I'm not an Abbey fan, but Here Lounge, I loved Here.
Exactly. Yeah. Before the Abbey took it over, right? They had a Friday night called Truck Stop. And it was the place to be. It was wild. It was crazy. It was so much fun. And that disappeared. And Allison and I wanted to bring that back because there's just like nostalgia of those days and going out with our friends and having a place of our own, and this last event, like so many people said to us, God, it reminds me of the old Truck Stop days, and that felt so good because that's exactly what we wanted to do. Yeah. What's the vibe of that? Because to me, Truck Stop sounds a bit demeaning, like, and a bit appropriated of stereotype, and which is not okay. So what's the vibe of what Cherry Bomb's doing now? I don't even know why they called it Truck Stop, to be honest. A place where women could go, women that, from the whole community, people from WeHo could go. And it was just nice that it was in WeHo. I think that was the main thing, is that all the events that have been happening have been at a park or at some bar in Silver Lake. It hasn't been in the WeHo scene, which to me, that's the gay scene. I wanted to bring this back to WeHo. That was really the idea behind it and the passion behind it. Sure. Well, what is it like as a lesbian woman in West Hollywood who, remembering days of yester, that where there were brick and mortars where you could socialize with other gay women. Yeah. I mean, do you feel neglected or excluded from the gay scene in West Hollywood because there's not a brick and mortar dedicated to lesbian women? I don't know that neglected is the right word. It's a little disappointed and, wishing that there was. But I also understand why it's a challenge, because women typically don't go out as much as men do. It makes sense that there's lots of bars for boys. It's drinking, going out and meeting guys. That's just what it seems like you guys are like. That's your thing. Sure. With women, it's a sprinkle of that, but it's, hey, let's have a dinner party. Hey, let's, if you're with somebody, let's just stay home, cook a meal and snuggle and watch Netflix. We're much more relationship oriented than going out and hooking up or whatever. Does that make sense? So yeah, absolutely. But more than anything, I feel bad for the women, in their 20s and 30s that don't have that, because that was so much of a part of me being a lesbian and me being comfortable in who I am today, is because I had those spaces when I was younger. I had those places to call my own, to go every night of the week, and I could see somebody familiar. And it's just women, and whether you wanted to make friends, maybe pick up on somebody or flirt, whatever that was, there was always a place to do that. So
Yeah, no doubt.
more than anything, I feel bad that these women don't have that. And that's what I feel like that's what I want my legacy to be, is I want to give that to them.
Yeah.
It's so important. It's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. Do you feel like it informs some of the behavior of gay men in WeHo nightlife? Like, when a few lesbian women walk into, a bar in West Hollywood, do you feel like there's a notice of like, oh, there's some lesbians, or do you feel like it makes gay men feel like they have ownership over the bar compared to a woman?
I feel like it used to be more so that way in the past. I've noticed that it's not so much now, that the men aren't as catty about having women there.
Sure.
And I've never felt in WeHo like I'm not wanted, but I also love gay men. So
Sure.
I may be the exception. I interact. I have a lot of gay male friends. So, I think we're able to coexist in those spaces and interact. But what I have noticed, it's a little bit segregated, unless you have people like me that likes to mingle with men. Like I met your friends by just mingling with the men. Like a lot of the women don't do that. I personally do. So
why do you think that is? Is that self-preservation? Is that tribalism?
The reason why I interact, or
the reason why there is segregation, why maybe some women don't feel like they need or want to go mingle.
I don't know. I think it's just because of just wanting to be with your own,
Sure.
And I think it becomes more important for a lot of women because we don't have that. So wherever we are in spaces, we tend to stick together as a herd, even if we don't know each other.
Right.
And that's been interesting to see when you go out, even if I don't know certain women, like they all seem to be in one area.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you don't feel like it's as bad as what I'm projecting it to be, because in prep for this interview, I've just, I try to individually and specifically prep for each episode with each guest. And I went down a rabbit hole today of basically just the history of lesbians saving gay men. I mean, and quite literally, during the AIDS crisis, there was a time when, nurses and doctors would not even like enter a room of an AIDS infected man, or even like take care of them post-mortem. And so lesbian women, not even knowing how AIDS is transmitted, it could have been through the air or touch, would come in and take care of their community, of their brothers. And and then in '83, when they put the ban on gay men to not be allowed to give blood, or I think that technical term is MSM, men who have sex with men, lesbian women stepped to the front of the line. And there's even an organization called I think it's called the Blood Sisters. That's basically just an organization of lesbian women who, to this day, donate blood on the regular because their gay brothers are not allowed to still in most locations. So I just always feel indebted to lesbian women, especially, for picking up the baton when gay men couldn't or wouldn't.
Yeah, I guess for me, I just see us all as one.
Yeah.
To me, it's not the LG and the B, whatever. It's like we're just one.
Yeah, and we have to be. I'm so thankful you brought that up, because we do, in order for us to, because we don't know what's going to happen next election cycle. Our rights are not secured. I mean, DOMA being struck down, was a big deal. I was a little worrisome during the 45 administration with some of the judges that were put in place, but it's not a done deal yet. We still have work to do, and in order for us to accomplish it successfully, we have to see each other as what you just said, which is one LGBTQIA plus community, one collection of queer people that come together and advocate for not just ourselves, but for the others who are in that same rainbow.
Yeah, I kind of wish instead of all these letters, we'd have just the number one.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Oh, if you start that campaign, I'll join along.
I just see us as one, and I think that's why I'm so bad at remembering what are all the letters, because I don't see it that way. I see us all as one big family.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I know why people want the letters, because it does, like you said earlier, we want to make sure we have our mini herds within the main herd,
Yeah.
but we still have to make sure that there's some crossover and cross advocation.
Yeah.
So you mentioned VGL earlier. That's that for those of you who are not LA local. Or actually VGL is all over the country right now. But it's a varsity gay league, and that is a kickball league. They have other sports as well. I did VGL for like 3 or 4 seasons a few years ago, and I had a very bad experience with it because of my team. But I always love when the VGLers come to Gym Bar or High Tops. Those are only 2 bars that I go to in West Hollywood, by the way. I love when they come up because they're all like in real cute shorty shorts, and it gives me plenty of visual stimulation. But it's always just fun, good energy. But I wish I'd had there's some people that I was really happy to get to know, but I wish I'd landed on a different team or something to get the full vibe.
I want you to come back, because I think that that's the case in anything you do, right?
Yeah.
People are going to be people, and there's going to be some bad apples.
Yeah, totally.
But the league as a whole is
so great. So great.
It literally changes lives. I would call it as the therapy I never thought I needed.
Yeah. And you're right, though. Those Saturdays and Sundays, I mean, you can drive by. I think you guys still play at like Plummer Park. Was that right?
Poinsettia.
Poinsettia Park. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, it's just hundreds of LGBT of ones. Let's just go ahead and we're going to start that today, Barb. Hundreds of ones who are just jamming together, drinking, playing kickball in the sun, expressing their whatever gender they want to express. Right. It's a really badass environment. And Will, who I used to know Will a little better, but I adore him, and he's so great, and he's done so many good things for this community. I've always thought, like, when is your We Host City Award coming? Like, when is your, and not that he does it for recognition, but like you said it, he has changed and saved lives by giving people an outlet and a community. So I'm so thankful to hear that they're growing and doing well.
Yeah. I mean, it's the one thing I missed the most during the pandemic. It's so good for my mental health. And there's so many women that come up to me and say, thank you for what you guys have built, because it's either people move here from another city, they break up with their girlfriend and have no friends, or they're all like me. All my friends were gay boys. I'm like, you know what? I need some diversity. And Will started the Women's League in 2018. At that time, it was maybe 40 something people, 4 teams. And now we're 220 something, 12 teams. Right?
What? That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's a very special thing. It really is.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool.
About it, obviously.
Yeah.
But also, like, it's something for people to do sober as well.
Yes.
It is so important in our community, because drug addiction, alcoholism is rampant in our community, unfortunately. Yeah. And this is a place that people can go that are sober, that can be with their community.
Yeah, you're right. It's actually really sad. I never realized how much, and I'll be honest, I'm a drinker. Yeah. We love to drink. And I also partake in cannabis, but I've never done another drug. And I'm very thankful. I have a pretty addictive personality as it is. Like I'm very obsessive about, and not just like vices, but like just things in general. And I know, and I have many friends who, from what I can tell, have a healthy association with some, paraphernalia. And, do I worry about them? Do I play mom? Yes. But, I trust their judgment. I'm not them. But I'm so thankful I never tried that first mirror or that first, white pill, because I just feel like it would not be a good, I feel like it would not, I know how I would behave, because I like to feel good. So, but it's, I didn't realize how major of a problem addiction is in the gay community, in the one community. I'm telling you, I'm going to start using the word one. I'm going to tell everybody and give you credit. In the one community who, how big the problem was until I moved to LA and saw, because this is escapism city too. The city of West Hollywood was chartered and founded as a safe harbor for queer people who were being kicked out of their homes in the 80s. And so it's so sad. And I feel like during COVID, it wasn't just from COVID, we started seeing a lot of people lose their lives to vices, because they didn't have those outlets that you just discussed, like VGL.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of support from, like AA and NA and all the other A's. And there's also, okay, I told you I live on a learning curve, so maybe everyone knows about this except for me, but I just heard of RR. Have you ever heard of RR as another option to AA? So AA is obviously Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
RR is called responsible recovery or reasonable recovery. I forget what the first R stands for. And it's basically, it's essentially the opposite. And that AA is a very like submissive. I realize that I have to surrender to the higher power, all this stuff. But with RR, it's about taking control versus giving up control. And so it's more about like, I don't want to speak ignorantly on it because I'm sure it's more nuanced than what I would describe it as, but it's basically the opposite of AA for people who maybe are a little more type A, left-brained. And it's not as spiritual from what I understand, because even, spirituality, there's a form of submission to the divine through that, which AA preaches, I believe. But I just love that VGL exists for that reason alone. Like it does serve as such a great community of support in many different aspects. So what sports did you play when you were going to school?
I played volleyball, softball, and basketball.
Oh, wow. You did it all.
What's that?
You did it all.
I did it all. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I lettered in high school in all 3 sports.
That's great.
And I was also smart and graduated 3rd in my class.
That's incredible.
So I've always been an overachiever, I guess.
Yeah. I played baseball and basketball all through high school. And I wasn't great, but I was okay. I could run really fast. And I think I graduated 6th or 7th, but that's in a class of like 17. I went to a small Christian prep, so it's not as impressive. But I still, I don't have to tell people how big the class was, just that I was 6th or 7th.
That's true. Mine was 600, so 3's
Jesus Christ, Barb. Yes. What did you go to school for? What did you study?
So I majored in law and society, and I got into law enforcement. I was a probation officer, and I dealt with sex offenders. That was my first high risk sex offenders.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I volunteered at the boys boot camp on the weekends in the Los Padres National Forest. It was like a military structure. We wore, camouflage pants, and they had to march and salute, the whole thing, right? Lots of structure. And then I decided I wanted to go in the FBI. So I got in, and last minute was like, not so much, when they told me that I'd be moving around a lot, and, because I look young and I speak Spanish, and that just didn't seem appealing to me. And then I met this girl in Miami. I was there for a week or something, and she worked at Hooters, and next thing you know, she moves to LA, and I moved to LA to be with her. And
so you moved here from Miami?
I moved here from Santa Barbara.
Okay.
In Santa Barbara, I was in law enforcement.
But you met the girl. Where was she living?
Miami, on vacation.
Oh, I see now. Okay, got it. Yeah. So this was a fast thing. I live right off the Walk of Fame, and our Hooters closed, and I love Hooters. And I also used to be a cruise ship singer, and there was in St. Thomas, USVI. I think the Hooters actually closed there too. There was a Hooters there, and every single time I was in St. Thomas, I would go to Hooters. And I was still like in a little bit of like some gay shame about myself. So I'd always try to act really butch and flirt with the Hooters girls. And like, they can see right through it. Like, they're like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Yeah. But that just sent me down a tangent. Now I want some wings.
Yeah, wings, so good. Yeah.
How long were you all together when you moved here?
We were together total about almost 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And, doing that, moving to LA was the best thing I ever did, because I was so in a bubble in Santa Barbara, and there's no way that I would just have upped and moved by myself. Yeah. But she gave me that push, I guess, to do that. And I switched careers. I got out of law enforcement, and I interviewed for this job and sold this guy that I could be a recruiter, a corporate recruiter. So there I was. Recruiting for a company, hiring staff. And I did that for many years. And then I ended up changing careers again, and ended up in the industry I'm in now, which is online marketing, advertising. And I branched out on my own, and because I wanted the freedom. I've always been this entrepreneur, and it just gives me the time. I work when I want, and and I don't when I want, and I don't have to be chained to a desk. And I work just for fun at this point. I'm pretty much retired.
And you partner up to create amazing events for gay women in a city where
Yeah.
there's not a lot of options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I have if you look at my Instagram, I have a pretty damn good life,
You do, yeah.
Yeah. I have so many amazing friends, amazing family, community. Um, it'd be nice if I could, have a girlfriend.
So let's hit on that for a minute, because
Yeah.
the Fagnostic podcast is not just a podcast about queer faith, but it's also a singles market. So I always try to pimp my guests out. So
Pimp me out, Matt.
Barb is single. For all of you ladies looking for love in Los Angeles,
And anywhere in the U.S. Actually, I can.
Oh, she said, "I'm mobile. I am
mobile. I am. My friends call me Barbara Worldwide.
Barbara, oh my God. Well, what is it like to date in Los Angeles as a gay woman? Because I actually prefer dating outside of Los Angeles.
It's been interesting, Matt. It's been interesting. The dating apps are a challenge, because people I think we just live in this generation where, we have an attention span of a gnat. Where, we don't like to communicate. We don't like to talk on the phone. We forget meeting up, So I'm of the mindset of, I actually want to connect with you. I don't, at this point, you're just a pretty girl with a decent profile. And I don't, I can't tell your energy. I can't, I don't know if we connect like our conversations, our sense of humor, our upbringing, our values. And a lot of people just aren't emotionally available. They're on there right after they split up with a girlfriend or what have you. And also there's a lot of people that are now into alternative forms of relationships, polyamory, and which I am not. I'm monogamous,
right.
So so kind of weeds out some people for me. But I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm looking for my life partner. It's not for the sake of not being able to meet any. Yeah, I get hit up often, but I'm not looking for a you'll do.
Right.
I'm looking for the one.
Yeah.
Somebody to build a bigger empire with. Like,
hell yeah.
Have fun and enjoy life and have a home.
Yeah. Especially before the next pandemic happens. We've got to cuff up.
Matt, it was the first time I was single during a pandemic. It was terrible, but it was good. It was good. It forced me to stay single and work on myself. And I did. And I haven't been more ready to be in a relationship than I am now.
Yeah. Well, y'all heard it here. She ready, so hit her up.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
And your Instagram is Barb Mayo, BARBMAYO.
Yeah, I think it's Barb M Mayo.
Oh yes, you're right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So y'all find her. And she, like you said, even if you're in like little old Des Moines or something, hit her up, hit the girl up. One of the things I found like within dating, and I just have I have what's called my weed journal. It's this bad boy right here. And it's basically just my journal that I will journal in whenever I'm high and have, my thoughts go outside of what my usual thoughts, limit themselves to be. And I had a revelation recently that, because I have a tendency to really not fall for straight men, but like really just I actually find myself really like intimately connecting with straight men more than I do gay men. I mean, I have my gay, circle, and like we travel, do our things together, but there's something that I started thinking like, oh, what does this say about me? And I realized one day it's actually not about me. It's about what I'm attracted to and what I'm not. And I think what it is that there is so much trauma still in the gay community in our generation, from just our upbringings, especially religiously speaking. And it informs your sex drive. It informs your sexual intimacy abilities. And I found, straight men are just born in this world as is and get to be. Yeah. They have their own issues that they have to do. I'm not discrediting like the journey of a straight man, but that sex trauma is often not as present as it is in my community. Right. And so that's now that I've recognized that, it's allowed me to better assess who I am attracted to in my own gay community to recognize like, and also within myself, because it's not that I'm like completely healed and devoid of any trauma. But I just thought it was a really interesting revelation that I think probably resonates with a lot of people. Do you feel like do you feel like the lesbian community has a lot of gay trauma around it?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Like, I think for me, I my whole life, I've always thought if I had never been abused, would I have been straight? Right.
Well, and that's what I almost brought that up when you said it, but I don't even want to give it voice because it's such a stupid argument to make that from our adversaries. I don't know where I'm from today. But because it's the assumption would be that only gay people have been abused. And that's a small, tiny percentage of those who have been abused. And if that's your argument, why aren't the rest of them gay? Because that's more on the market for folks like me and you to try to find.
Right.
But it's really unfortunate that people have that that argument, because it's detrimental not just to us, but to those who have also been abused that don't give voice to their abuse, and it's really heartbreaking. And I feel like growing up, and again, I don't know exactly, I assume you're around my age. There is growing up, and especially in the South, like I joke about the Walter Cronkite complex. And for men, even if you had a higher voice, you always tried to speak lower to sound more manly. Yeah. And with women, you were brought up to be feminine and dainty and delicate, and these gender norms that are so fucking harmful. And I speak all the time about how the binary is literally killing the world and our community daily, exponentially. And there's no allowance for that gray space. But I wonder often, I've seen my own, how do I even say this? My own expression as it relates to masc versus femme. I've seen that ebb and flow over time because we are so confined to behave one way as a child during the most formative years of our life that how do we even know who we are? Yeah. And what is our natural behavior? Like, what is it if we're not allowed to even explore it as a child? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you have that same situation when you were growing up?
I remember my mom always making me wear dresses, and you would have thought that I was being put through the worst trauma ever, by having to wear a dress. Like, I would cry. I felt so awkward in a dress. Yeah.
There's a film that I judge film festivals, and I judged one a couple months ago in North Carolina, and there was it's a short film. I mean, it's actually a longer short film, but it's called The Gray Space. And it's by this incredible filmmaker. It's a duo, but it basically honors what we're talking about right now, in that it was a collection of 5 women, all identifying as she, her, who just expressed differently. And some were, some looked like what we would call a man, but they still identified as she, her. And some, looked feminine, but would wear, men's tennis shoes and men's jeans because it was more comfortable. And there's just the way that society has successfully informed every single one of us of what's okay and what's not okay is awful. But I think we're in a place now where we're recognizing that, and we're able to have these conversations so that, God willing, some kid in, I don't want to reference Des Moines again. I don't want to give too much props to Des Moines, but where Albuquerque or Decatur, Alabama, where I'm from. Hopefully, one kid is here like, oh, like it's okay if I don't want to wear a dress. But I brought that film up because she described just what you just said about the dress being such like a prison almost. And
costume almost, being in drag. That's how I felt.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Okay, are you a Drag Race fan?
I am. Yeah. I'll have to say, I haven't seen it in a couple seasons. I watched it quite a bit back in the, like 2 years ago.
Right.
I call it the gay Super Bowl.
It's absolutely the gay Super Bowl. Yes. I can't get enough of it. I've watched every country multiple times. I mean, and I only jumped on board like 2 years ago, thanks to my best friend, Brittany. But one of the things I've seen a lack of, especially here in LA's gay scene, is the drag king presence. So would your with your goal to have this lesbian brick and mortar, is part of the conversation also to have a drag king presence?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I want to bring to West Hollywood. Just like we have drag queen nights.
Oh, I just got chills. I'm so excited because there are drag kings here. They just don't have the platform. And there are a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of homophobia within the gay community as a whole, but there is still, I mean, there are promoters who will not give presents to a drag king in a drag show because they don't feel like it's as profitable or as entertaining
or as sexy, or who knows, you know. There is nowhere, but it's such a form of art and expression that
expression
is in the lesbian community. 100%. Something I talked to Allison about, like, we have to have at least this once a month.
Yes. Are you, I mean, like, what's the how practical is it to look forward to like a date of are you looking at locations? Like what's...
Yeah, we've been looking at a bunch of different locations. That the challenges that we're having is the location, or it's ridiculous in price, or it's not big enough, or it's a blank canvas and it's an entire, huge build out. And also the challenging thing is the liquor license. It takes a year to get a liquor license. So it's finding a landlord that will give us some grace in that time that we're building out and trying to obtain our liquor license. And it's not even something that's guaranteed. So we can pour in $500,000 or almost $1 million and it could not happen. So it's really trying to find the right situation where it's not such a huge risk, and that the location makes sense and the space makes sense for what we want to do. And we also want to bring live music to WeHo.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that's really missing. And, lesbians love live music,
Yeah. Have you spent any time in Nashville, Tennessee?
I have not,
okay.
But I've heard great things about it.
It's a beautiful city.
Music, yeah.
Yes, I love Nashville. It's I'm actually flying into Nashville next week when I go home to see my family and go to my brother's wedding. But there's a bar there called the Lipstick Lounge, which is a lesbian bar. They have karaoke, they do live music, and it's the cutest, sexiest, like it's incredible. It's one of my favorite bars in Nashville. And they've been really, I don't know if it's that scene, because I'm not connected to that scene anymore, but there's a crossover that happens in that bar between the country music scene, the gay boy scene, but hosted by these lesbians in their bar. And so when you go in there, you feel like you're stepping into a lesbian bar that's hosting you. And it kind of makes you think of like, that's why I asked that question earlier. When you go into a bar in West Hollywood, do you feel like you're stepping on gay turf that's not so welcome to you? Because at that bar, it just feels like it's a lesbian bar. It's not lost that sense of being a lesbian bar. And yet everyone shows up and has the best time.
Yeah. And we want to have that too. Like, I want to be clear that the boys are not excluded.
Right.
We just want it to be a safe place. So we don't want the creepy straight guy picking up on girls, which happens. Yeah. And we've seen it, it's funny because a lot of my friends have noticed, like, going to places and there's more straight men at our gay places. So we want to really create a space that is safe.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what comes of this and the fruition that you experience with it, because this sounds A, very needed, B, extremely past due. But it sounds like you're going to create the next generation of like the bars you referenced earlier.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. So when I, like I said, I want that to be the thing I leave behind to people,
So legacy is really important to you.
Yeah, super important. Yeah. And our next event is the 18th, by the way. I'm just going to plug that in.
Of November?
November at Stash in West Hollywood.
Okay. I've not been to Stash yet, but because again, I'm a creature of habit. So I only go to High Tops and Gym Bar, but every time I walk by Stash, it's like, oh, this place looks swanky AF.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got a great layout and and they've been super cool, very supportive, and
great.
We're blessed and grateful that they've allowed us to partner with them. Yeah.
You just said blessed. So it's again, another sign of like, there are these things from childhood that we can't escape. And that that's where do you see, because I feel like spirituality is actually quite fluid as well. Are you in a place right now where you're seeing your spirituality change to where like in a year from now, you may believe something differently or see the world differently?
I think how I feel about spirituality, I don't think it's going to change for me, because it's almost like this way of life where there is a higher power. However, I'm just as powerful. Like,
Wait,
no,
say that again for the people in the back.
yes, I would say that we all say we have a higher power, but I am just as powerful.
Abso-fucking-lutely, amen.
Yes. I can, and that's also my problem with religion is I hear so many people say, I pray that this will happen. Well, God's not showing up at your door. No one's coming to your door. If you want something, yeah, you can have faith and put it out there and believe in it, but you have to take action. You have to execute.
There's a really great Hebrew teaching that I think it was Martin Luther King Jr. He referenced this ancient Hebrew teaching of we pray with our feet. Mm-hmm. And I thought that's it. It's of course, have your faith, have your thoughts, your meditations, your manifestation. But if you're not putting it to action, you can't expect the divine to just show up and do everything for you. We've got to meet that higher power at least halfway, if not more, I think.
Yeah. I would say that we're a team.
Yeah.
And I really believe that as long as I'm good and I do good and I'm respectful and I'm respectful to people and animals and the environment, that all good things will happen to me. And so I'm very much a believer in karma as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think if I had to pick one religion, like if I had a gun to my head, it probably would be Buddhism, because it's really more of a way of being.
Yep. There's the book that I'm reading right now is by Joseph Campbell called Myths of Light. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
He's a thought leader for sure as it pertains to like Western religion but like the where it's all come from, which is obviously from the East. And he draws, basically a Venn diagram between all the major religions. But during his East Asia journeys, he was finding it so fascinating. And I referenced this earlier, how they're born without the knowledge or the punishment of the fall of man. And so, whereas we are born off on the wrong foot, they are born off on the right foot. And what a greater chance of success and happiness and impact you must have if you're born that way. I mean, I'm sure they have their own cultural traumas or religious traumas, whatever, but like to not be born thinking you're in need of a savior or you're in need of we're just fucked.
Yeah. And I realized that about myself when I went to Thailand for 2 weeks, and the most beautiful, kind, respectful people I've ever been around, honestly. Yep. And I really believe it's because they're Buddhist, because they believe in being good and doing good, and all good things will come back in return. And I really felt that way when I was there.
That's so incredible. I've never been there, but I really hope to spend time, because in my own religious turmoil, I feel like it would actually be really healing to go be around that immersively versus just pontificating it and conversing about it on this podcast. That's incredible.
We stayed in Phuket and we stayed in this amazing home, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. The sun was setting and you can hear the monks chanting from a distance. I mean, it was just, you just had to be there. It was so beautiful. Like I wanted to start crying. It was so beautiful.
That's wild. Wow. So November 18th is the next event at Stash in West Hollywood. Yes. Barb Mayo is single. Trying to think what another bullet point to hit real quick before we head off. Well, excuse me. So if the divine, whatever that is, the higher power, the God, the whatever, were standing before you today, what would you say to them? Not ask, but what would you say to them?
I would say, help us connect as people again. I think that we've lost our way a little bit. I really believe that. I really believe that people have stopped being people and kind and being aware of each other. And I don't know if that's an LA thing. I don't know if that's a humankind thing, but it became very evident for me during our last presidency of how divided we really are. And I never wanted to believe that we had sexists and racists in our country until that president. And he confirmed it for me. And that made me really sad, because I was almost living in this not wanting to know, right? Yeah. So it was so clear. And I feel like I would just want the divine to help us become humans again, to have compassion, to have empathy, to not be racist, to not be sexist, and be accepting of everybody.
Sure.
So I think we've lost our way a little bit, just to
I
help us
agree.
get back on that path again.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, there's a lot at stake for our community looking forward, because I met a guy. I was in Palm Springs for Pride this past weekend, and I met a guy there, and we really hit it off, and had instantly, we just got deep in conversation. It went, beyond the physical aesthetic immediately. And he works in DC, and, working in some pretty high profile offices. And I said, like, what's the temperature in DC right now? Like, what's going on? What's the tone? And he said, basically, like, everyone is looking for jobs, because we're all terrified that we're all going to lose our jobs next year with the House and the Congress. And I just thought, then we're fucked. What we have nobody in our, because what's going to happen is they're going to come back and retaliate. I mean, this is that population, that diminishing population of Americans who are not for progress are shrinking, and they're terrified. And so they'll do whatever they can to ensure that their rights are protected over ours, even though our rights don't affect their rights.
Yeah.
But let's put that out into the universe to all the listeners, is that let's pray with our feet. We can ask the divine, we can request to be of service, to help us learn how to reconnect with people, and let's put our boots on the ground and get to fucking work.
Yeah. And also I would tell them to put me on the guest list of heaven. I'd like to.
If it even exists.
Right. If it even exists. But I'd like to be on that list. I think I'm a pretty decent human being.
Oh my God. If y'all could see her smile, like, you would know you're going to be there.
Thank you.
Single Barb Mayo. I really appreciate, I keep plugging you. I'm telling you, we're going to get you wet up.
I hope so. and you're going to hear about it. We're going to do a second podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
a kid,
I love that. I look so forward to seeing you again, because we only chatted for a few minutes at the bar. But we're hanging out. Trust me. Absolutely.
And please come back to VGL. Honestly, please.
You really, now that I know you're a part of it as well, like, I need to look into it again, because I really did love I looked so forward to it every Saturday morning, and the few people that I created friendships with, we all kind of had the same vibe on that team. But I really do miss, like, it was fun, and I'm pretty athletic as well, so I miss, like, having that team mentality.
And start your own team. You can start your own team, right?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Oh, maybe I'll look into.
So you can sign up as a captain of your team. Just have your players register under your team name.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, and also, y'all go check out, if you're in LA, if you just moved here, or if you're planning on moving here, go check out VGL as well.
VarsityGayLeague.com. And you can also email me, Barb at VarsityGayLeague.com, if you're interested in joining the league and being a part of it. You don't have to be good. I want you to know.
In fact, I would say most people are not good.
Exactly. Who's played kickball? Nobody.
Right.
If you did, you were probably 5.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Yeah. Barb, thank you again for being willing to talk to me, for humoring me at High Tops in West Hollywood after I drank who knows how much. You were such a treat, such a gem. I want to go out to a lesbian bar just to find you a wife now, because I'm just enamored by you. So thank you for all you do for this world. Thank you for what you're doing for the lesbian community of Los Angeles, specifically West Hollywood. You were doing so. You inspire me. I'm just so thankful I got to know you a bit more today.
Yeah, thank you, and many blessings to you and your subscribers or your listeners.
Awesome, I appreciate it. So we'll see you next time. Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
And all the people said, gay men. Thank you all for listening to another episode of the Fagnostic Podcast, hosted by me, Matt Hayes. You can find me at matthayes.com. That's MATHAYES.com, or on just the millennial socials at Hayes on It. HAYES on It. Please go subscribe, review, and share this podcast. And in the meantime, peace be with all y'all.
Hi, Michael Spicer here. Matt Hayes forgot to put my name in the credits of his podcast as the composer, but I'm here to tell you that I wrote the music for his podcast. Whatever it's called, I don't know.